Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to our fall webinar series. My name is Robert Crowder. I'm going to be your presenter today. Today's session is called Common Benefit Problems 3, and this is a part of a three-part session that we have done, or three-part webinar series that we have done. And this is based on feedback we've got from brokers on what are the 9 most common benefit problems they have. I think we asked the question, what are the most common benefit problems that you run into from a broker's perspective? And we got feedback, and these are really the number one subjects that we got feedback on are the common benefit problems. So that's what we're focusing on today. This is the third of a three-part series. And let's get started here. First of all, my name is Robert Crowder. I'm the founder and president of the Benefits Trust. I'm the guy on the right-hand side for those of you that I haven't met. Welcome. And Mike Ignatz is our moderator today. He's the guy on the left-hand side. Many of you have met Mike. He's got a cheesy Movember mustache growing right now, but he's supporting a good cause, but he looks pretty funny. So if I giggle halfway through, it's because I'm looking at Mike. But anyways, Mike, say hello.
Good morning, everybody.
So if you have any questions throughout the presentation today, just type them into your question box and we'll make sure that we answer them. Either Mike will answer them directly or we'll answer them throughout the presentation. Welcome to the Benefits Trust. We are a full-service third-party benefit administration company. We started on January 1st, 1994, so we've been around close to 25 years. We're excited about our history and we're also really excited about our future. As I mentioned very quickly, we work with brokers like yourselves. We only sell through brokers like yourselves and relationships that we have with brokers like yourselves. So we're excited to have all of you on the call today, and hopefully that you will learn something on the call today so it won't be a waste of your time. We value the time that you are giving us, so we want to make this as good as possible. At the end of the presentation today, you're going to receive, or sometime after the end of the presentation today, I should say, you're going to receive a very short survey. Please fill it out. Give us some feedback. In addition to that, give us some subjects that you'd like to see covered in future webinars, because we're soon putting together our 2018 webinar series, and we want to develop some new webinars. So we want to get some feedback from you to make it as meaningful for you to get your CE credits as possible. In addition to that, you're going to be getting, in addition to that very short survey, you're going to be getting a CE certificate. So we want to make sure that you keep track of those for your CE certificates or CE credits that are required. And you're also going to be getting a copy of our Trusted Advisor newsletter. So thanks very much for attending. We're going to be done here before 11 o'clock this morning, and let's get started. You know, it's incredible. I've got an appointment downtown on Friday afternoon, and then I've got to go to a reception on Friday evening. And every time I go down to the city, it's amazing on how big it is. And it's just absolutely enormous, the city of Toronto. And it was interesting. I was in Ottawa last Friday, and I was right downtown. And on Saturday, I saw the Remembrance Day celebrations, or Remembrance Day ceremonies, pardon me. And the city is small compared to Toronto. Toronto is just such a huge place, and the market that we're dealing in is just absolutely enormous when we're talking about benefits. And when you look at, beyond the city, and you look at sort of the GTA, a Golden Horseshoe, whatever you want to define it as, you look, as far down as St. Catharines and Niagara, all the way up and around through Hamilton and Brampton and Mississauga and York Region and Durham and so on, that whole area, really there's probably 50,000 prospects that we can be dealing with or more. So it's absolutely amazing the amount of business and the opportunity that we have when we're talking about benefits. And I like to say, where decisions are made differently at different levels of benefits. Of course, they're not broken down by this, but by these different categories that we've defined here. But really, decisions are made differently at different sizes of companies with respect to benefits. So what we're saying is today's focus and our comments are on that smaller end of the marketplace, sort of that 3 employees to 103. When you've got 103 to 1,003, sort of that 400, 500, 600 level of employees, benefit decisions are made differently as they are in that 5,000 person company and as they are in that 50,000 person company. So benefits are very different and the decisions are very different. So today, again, and where we focus here at the Benefits Trust is working with advisors like yourselves on that smaller end of the marketplace Still very profitable, still extraordinarily profitable, and your services as a professional insurance broker are very much more valued in this particular area. So that 3 to 103 market size is I think the biggest market size, but in addition to that, it's got the most prospects in it. But in addition to that, I think it's the most profitable. That's where we're focusing on today. That's where we focus every day. Where, as I mentioned, we're a full-service third-party benefit administration company, and we offer a wide range of solutions. And today we want to talk, our comments are going to be based on in that size market space. And today's purpose in the next 55 minutes that we're going to spend together is really to share knowledge. It's to share knowledge and wisdom that we have. As I mentioned, we've been doing this for close to 25 years, and I've been a licensed insurance broker working in the benefit space for close to 30 years. And we deal with hundreds of different brokers and have thousands upon thousands of cases. And it's just really sharing some of that knowledge that we have with you. So tomorrow, when you go out and run into a particular situation, you may be able to look at it a little bit differently and have a great conversation with your client or your prospect. So what is a benefit plan? I start off all of our webinars and most of the presentations that we do with what is a benefit plan? And it's an interesting conversation that you have with end user clients, where they have with your prospects. But when you go, what is a benefit plan? They kind of look at you like you got two heads, and you're saying, they go, oh, it's one of those insurance plans that we have. It's got a drug card, and it talks about prescription drugs, and we have some dental stuff and so on. And I think we got some vision care coverage, or we had it, but we canceled because it was too expensive, et cetera. So people think a benefit plan is a number of things. Some smarter employers also go, yeah, it's part of, benefits are part of vacation. It's not just the stuff that you sell it, but it's vacation, it's time off, it's, it's a whole bunch of things that we have here. But a benefit plan is really, when we look at it from a number of perspectives, it's really a promise between an employer and an employee. You come and work here at ABC Company, you get so many dollars a year in salary, you get free parking, you get 3 weeks vacation, and it's a promise that an employer makes to an employee. It's as simple as that. And when you use that very simple language when you're dealing with the prospect in the marketplace that we're talking, or market size that we're talking about, generally you're dealing with the owner of the company or someone that's very well connected to the owner of the company, and they get that. They get that language. The employer is making a promise to a group of employees. And it's interesting, you look at today's company profile, and you've got this young CEO and founder of this particular business, whatever this particular business is. And this is just, a sample company. Here's this young, dynamic CEO. She wants value. She wants answers. She wants, a trusted advisor to work with. And she's got the sales team beside her. And the sales team, is 3 or 4 or 5 people. And they're, motivated and dynamic. They're single. They might have significant others. Doesn't really matter, but you just see this type of people in the vibe that they're creating. And then you got the implementation team, the people that are doing the work, the people that are hanging the banners or doing the electrical work or whatever the situation is. You got this implementation team, and they're a very different type of person than the CEO, and also a very different type of person than the sales team. And then you've got the R&D department. This is like Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory, right? But, a very unique individual with different requirements for life, and certainly different requirements for benefits. Then you've got that marketing team, and they might be university students or college students or high school students, or they might be full-time people that are out there marketing, but they're very different than the sales team that's very different from the implementation team. So here's a typical company that might have 10 or 15 employees, and they've got 4 or 5 different groups within the particular group of this company, and they need benefits and they need advice, and one size often does not fit all. The CEO is all about value, and the CEO is all about purchasing value, and the CEO is all about value proposition. And these 30-year-old benefit plan designs really aren't working. So they're saying, hey, great, how can we buy value, and how can we maximize the dollars that we're spending for the various groups within our group? So the promise is really, what it is that an employer makes to an employee. And we want to keep that in mind when we're talking about today's agenda. So today's agenda is, and again, this is feedback that we've received from brokers like yourselves, is how educating employees and employers leads to higher plan satisfaction. We want to talk about what you need to know, why you need to know what you're shopping for before you shop around. I think it's critical. And then the third one we want to talk about is what are the roles and responsibility of brokers, insurers, TPAs, and clients. And that's an interesting one. We got a fair amount of feedback on that one. What are the roles and responsibilities of everybody involved in the process? So we want to talk about education. We want to talk about what you need to know before you start shopping around. And we want to talk about roles and responsibilities. So how educating employees and employers leads to higher plan satisfaction. Let's go down that road. And quite simply, education is the acquisition of knowledge. It's simple as that. So when you keep that in mind, education is the acquisition of knowledge. And as I like to say, education is the desired result. If you want to be a professional engineer, you need a certain type of education. If you want to be a medical doctor, you need a certain type of information. If you want to get from point A, I was in Ottawa last week. I wanted to get from my hotel to Parliament Hill, right? I needed to figure out how to get from point A to point B. Education is the desired result. I needed to get direction. So it doesn't matter if it's, you need a sophisticated education to get a professional degree, or you just need information to get from point A to point B. I needed to learn something, and education is the desired result. I didn't need to know the entire map and memorize the entire map of Ottawa. I just needed to know how to get from point A to point B. It was as simple as that. So education is the acquisition of knowledge. Education is also the desired result. So it's important to focus on the correct lesson. It's important to focus on the correct lesson. And, it's like asking somebody the time and they tell you how their watch works. And you don't really want to know how their watch works. You just want to know what the time is. So it's important to focus on that correct lesson. And as I like to say, there's a whole bunch of information available on the internet. And getting information on the internet is like drinking from a fire hydrant, getting a glass of water, drink of water from a fire hydrant. There's a ton of information out there. It's just what's the desired result that you want? And how do you get that focused result? And how do you get that desired result that you want with respect to education? Because often what happens is you'll be looking at a client. They might ask you a question. And you might be answering that question, and the client might be just blowing their stack. Because they're not even sure what questions they're asking. They're just looking for information, and they might be looking for information for a certain thing. And because they're not an expert in the benefits world, they're asking you questions on what they might think what they might think the subject matter is, and they're not getting the answers that they want, and they get frustrated. So it's important to make sure that the client understands what the correct lesson is. And you do that, in my opinion, by asking great future-based questions. You've heard me harp on this in previous webinars for those that have attended in previous webinars, but it's all about future-based questions. So, and when we were putting this together, it really reminded me of this one particular case that we've had for many years, and it was a perfect example of this. We went in to see this particular client, or was a prospect at the time. They had 50 full-time employees. They were in the service industry. Very well-known company in the community in which they were operating in. And it was a fairly big community. It wasn't downtown Toronto, but it was a big community. Well-known employer. They had high turnover, which was very interesting. They had very high turnover. And that was fairly common in the service industry, in their industry. But they had high turnover. And that's something that certainly frustrated them. And they had a very basic benefit plan. We asked a number of questions. But the first question that we asked is, if we were meeting here 3 years from today, what has to have happened for you to say that this has been the best 3 years of your life? And we asked the question to the top guy. We asked this question to the top guy, and it was interesting because we found out a number of things. He wanted success, he wanted growth, he wanted all sorts of stuff. But one of the biggest problems that we found out is, he said, I want the union that's sniffing around to be gone. And that was his number one priority. When we asked that future-based question, that was his number one priority. And that's really why we were there. And it's interesting, I don't know if we would have found that out, because we were there to sell benefits, but I don't know if we would have found that out unless we asked that future-based question. But the big thing that he was concerned about at that point in time is there was a union sniffing around. And they were trying to, get in on the service workers, and and this was causing him a great deal of stress. So we came up with a solution after, and we're jumping to the solution pretty quick, but we asked a number of questions and had a number of, fairly lengthy conversation with this particular individual and did a fair amount of work. But the solution was really to educate the employer on the union plan offering. He knew that the union was sniffing around and they were going in on not only fair wages and seniority, or different wages and seniority, but they were also going in on better benefits. So it was important to educate the employer on what the union plan had to offer. And then, excuse me, we had to redesign the benefit plan offering that this company was offering their employees. And then we had to educate. So we had not only had to educate the employer, we had to redesign the plan, and then we had to educate the employees on the new benefit plan, because that was important so they can make an informed decision to either accept this particular redesign of the union, or of the benefit plan, or to go with the union plan. And education was the key thing there. So the redesign was to match the union plan, but stagger the reimbursement levels based on seniority. Interesting word, seniority. That seniority is that word that is used often in labor movements and unions and so on. So during the education process with the particular individuals at the company, we're saying, hey, we're going to match the union plan that's there. So all of a sudden, or the union plan that's being offered. So we're saying, hey, great, we're going to match it, but we're going to stagger the reimbursement levels based on the seniority. So all of a sudden that piqued people's interest. We're saying 3 months to 2 years, we're going to give everybody that joins this particular plan 60% reimbursement. That's less than the union plan. The majority of people that were there that were going to be voting on getting this union in or out had 2 years of service or more. So it was interesting because the people that during the high turnover really didn't stick around too much. So the people that were there for a couple of years were saying, we don't really care if they get less. It's about us. So less than 3 months of service to 2 years of service, they got the exact same benefit plan as the union plan, but they got 60% reimbursement. And for people that have been there 2 years to 4 years of service, we gave them 85% reimbursement, which was the same as the union plan. So all of a sudden, the majority of the people are in this category. They got 85% reimbursement, same as the union plan, more than what they had before with the company. We've taken the biggest thing off the table that the union was offering, and through education and implementation. So all of a sudden they're going, well, why do we need this union? And why are we going to kick in, $70 a month in dues or $80 a month in dues or whatever the number was? And we're going to get the same plan by just staying here. Okay, well, geez, I don't know if this makes a lot of sense. But we also put a little kicker in. We said, hey, in 4 years, if you've been here 4 years or more where there was a couple of employees, they're going to get 95% reimbursement, which is more than the union plan. So we're incentivizing people to stick around. So all of a sudden, this plan was put into place, the redesign was implemented, and the education, which was a critical part, not only for the employer, but also the employee, was done very effectively. So they knew exactly where they stood in relation to the union. The union certainly couldn't match this, and it was implemented. The results were very interesting. And the results were interesting over time from a number of different perspectives. Well, the first thing is, without a doubt, there's no more union sniffing around. That went away. So that put a big smile on the client's face. And I just love this picture. No more unions sniffing around. You got it. The second thing is, which was great for the broker, and certainly good for us as well, the benefit plan cost increased over their previous plan. So not only did the broker get a new client, but the benefit plan cost actually increased. So the broker was making more commissions than the previous consultant or broker. The benefit plan cost increased again at the first renewal, and the benefit plan cost increased again at the second renewal and beyond. So all of a sudden, their cost of their benefit plans are going up, not significantly, but they're certainly increasing. So it was kind of interesting what happened because they got a new CFO after a couple of years, and benefit plan costs kept on continuing to increase. And the CFO, was sort of looking back in time and said, what's going on here, guys? You guys implemented this plan design, and what's going on? Like, this is crazy, right? Well, a new problem. So this is a new problem, and more education was required. The plan was working. The plan was working great. It kept the union. It got rid of the union and kept them away. But there was a new problem and as a result of that, more education was required. So we're meeting with the CFO. Well, this is probably about year 4, and we're asking again future-based questions, and we're asking him about what has to happen in the next 3 years for be the best 3 years of his life, and we found out a number of things that they wanted to continue providing these great services. They wanted to continue to have the staff that they have in place. And one of the things that we found out, or a number of things that we found out, is the turnover was way down compared to what it was a number of years ago. As a result, the turnover being down, their training costs were down. So they had a reduction in an increase in benefit costs, but their training costs were way down. But more importantly than that, their client survey, they always do client surveys in this particular company. It happens automatically. Just about every time there's a transaction, they do a client survey. And the client surveys had improved, or the results of the client surveys had improved over the last number of years. And that was because of the turnover being down. People were just better at their jobs, as simple as that. There weren't new people in place. They were better at their jobs. So clients' turnover was down, training costs were down, and we had an improvement or the client had an improvement in their service levels. So all of a sudden, we were saying, hey, this isn't solely to do with the benefit plan, but we were sort of patting ourselves on the back. The added value that we brought to the table here was we asked great questions. We educated the employer and the employees, and we continued to educate the employees and the employer. So it's important to do your job, or for all of us to do our jobs at the beginning, the middle, and continue it as the relationship continues. So it's always about asking future-based questions. It's about designing and implementing benefit plans, and it's about that match those future where they're going to be, certainly the future results. And it's about educating the employer and the employees in a manner that makes sense, so they're not drinking from the water fountain. It's that desired result that you're trying to get. So that's one way to certainly add value. Great, we spent 20 minutes on that or so. So the next subject is why you should know what you know before you're shopping around. And I don't know, I don't want to sound like a typical male, but I hate malls. I hate going to malls. I don't like anything about malls. It drives me crazy. But when I have to go to the mall, and I live in Newmarket, and there's the Upper Canada Mall not far from my home, and the occasional time that I have to go into the mall, I usually go in, zip into one store, pick up what I need, and zip out. My mall experience has tried to be as limited as can be. But putting that aside, one time many years ago, I was out in Edmonton, and I had a half a day off in between the meetings that I was attending. And I went to that West Edmonton Mall. I think it's called the West Edmonton Mall, Mike. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the West Edmonton Mall. At the time, it was the biggest in North America. And this mall was absolutely enormous. I've never seen anything like it. It was huge. I can't remember how many stories there were in this mall, but it was enormous. There was thousands upon thousands of stores. There was different wings. They had a skating rink right in the middle of the mall, and occasionally
the Oilers used to practice there.
Yeah, the Edmonton Oilers used to practice there from time to time, and they had a wave pool in this thing and a roller coaster. It was crazy. It was a mall. It was a theme park. It was crazy. But anyways, I could get so lost in there. And if you don't know what you're shopping for in that mall, you would just spend hours walking around if you didn't have a plan. So I think it's important you could walk, what I'm saying is you can walk out of that mall with no results. Just like you can shop your benefit plans around, and you can shop your clients' benefit plans around. But if you don't have a reason for doing it and a very clear objective, you're not going to get any results. Often you're not going to get any results. And as a result of that, this endless shopping, your revenue goes down. You make commissions, and commissions aren't a paycheck. Commissions are just revenue to your business. And your revenue goes down because the more work you're spending on a file, the more cost for that file there is, and the revenue decreases. So you can't go out and get new prospects and get new clients because you're spending all your time being busy doing endless shopping for your clients. And you're saying, hey, if I don't do it, somebody else will, and holy smokes, right? So why are they shopping? Well, it's interesting when you look at clients and why are people shopping? They're doing it out of often we when we talk to brokers like yourselves, we're saying, why are you guys shopping this case? And they're going, we have to. It's a defense mechanism. Simple as that. We have to because if we don't, somebody else will. So we want to shop it to make sure that we've got the best prices, and if we can get it cheaper, then we're going to move it. Is that really adding value? Again, let's ask some future-based questions here, and let's find out what the client's all about. Well, if the client has a short-term outlook, our opinion is if the client has a short-term outlook, in other words, they're dealing with some financial issues, they've got some they're dealing with some financial issues, they've got some problems with with their business, the business cycle, whatever the program is, and they want to find the cheapest price. Yeah, shopping is a great way to do it because you can always find a cheaper price out there. I don't care what any insurance company says. I don't care if Great West Life, Manulife, and Sun Life are sitting in the room here with me. I can say I can send it to one of the three of you, and somebody's going to give me a cheaper price than I've got right now. Simple as that. So if you've got a long-term outlook, I don't necessarily think, or the client has a long-term outlook more specifically, I don't really think it's about price. I think it's about asking great questions. I don't think it's about shopping. I think it's about asking great questions. So if a client has a long-term outlook, I think it's important to ask those great future-based questions, and you can prevent shopping when it happens. So here's a case study. We have an existing client. We've had this client for about 5+ years. And as I like to say, in this particular case, a passive jumpy broker. This broker that we work with that's brought us this case is they're very reactive. They don't do things proactively or as proactively as I'd like to see maybe. So, and they're also very jumpy. As soon as the client calls, there's calls made to everybody and their cousins, and they're going, oh my God, how can this happen? How can this happen? How can this happen? They're just jumpy brokers. There's a custom solution that was implemented into this particular program and very accurate budgeting on our budgeted ASO solutions. The monthly reports that the client is getting they're fine. The renewals are absolutely fine. Everything's in line. Their costs have been their costs have changed over the last 5 years certainly, but they've been very very linear and not a big deal. But the key thing was this passive jumpy broker, right? And in this particular company, they got 22 employees. They've got 3 different classes of benefits, including executive benefits, and they've had fairly flat costs. So it's not a huge case, but it's a very important case, and it's still a great case. They've got those 3 classes of benefits, but the key thing is the executive benefits, the 100% benefit plan for the owner of the business, something that is not easily replaceable on the street. So that's important to know. 3 classes. They had an employee class and a management class, and they have the executive class. And they've had, again, as I mentioned, the relatively flat costs. But there's a new employee in there, and that employee is a controller, and the controller has a guy. Yep. Every controller has a guy, just like on storage, or what's that? Is that Storage Wars? Or no, the Las Vegas show where they go in and
Pawnbrokers?
Pawnbrokers.
Pawn Stars?
Pawn Stars or whatever it is. Yeah, Pawn Stars, they bring in the artifact or whatever it is that they found, and they want to sell it to the pawn shop, and whatever the guy's name is always says, oh, yeah, I got a guy. I'm going to bring in a guy. But the new controller has a guy. And the guy is saying, hey, trust me, I can find a way to save you money. I can find a way to save you money. So what I'm going to ask you to do, Mr. Guy or Mr. Controller, is I need you to sign this marketing letter. And before you tell anybody about this marketing letter, I just want you to sit tight, and I'm going to send it out. And I'm going to send it out to every single insurance company and TP out there. And I'm going to block the market from the broker. So when this broker found out that this had happened, the market was already completely blocked. The market was completely blocked. The jumpy broker was going, holy crap, we're going to lose this, we're going to lose this, we're going to lose this. The client's going to find a cheaper solution. I said, whatever we do, the first and most important thing we need to do is we need to get a meeting with the new controller. We need to get a meeting with the person that is taking this to the owner. Let's get a meeting with them. One thing that's important, though, is this little sidebar is no one client in your business should be worth more than 5% of your overall revenue. Because if you're going to lose clients from time to time, you're going to gain clients from time to time. But if you have a client that's 50 or 75% of your revenue and you lose them, it really hurts. If you have a client that is, not worth more than 5% of your revenue, when you do lose them, it doesn't hurt as much. So that's a little sidebar. So we met with the client and we asked some great questions. And it was interesting because this was the controller that were meeting with. It was the first time that we had met this particular individual. And again, passive. The broker was very passive, in my opinion, when the new controller was brought into the company. He or she, the broker, should have met that particular person. But regardless of that, met with the client. We asked some really great questions, and they certainly had a long-term outlook to their business and a long-term outlook to their benefit plan. So we were focusing on the promise. We're saying, hey, great, you got this long-term outlook to your business. Future is going to be bigger than your past. You're continuing to grow. Let's focus on the promise that the employer is making the employees, or particularly the groups of employees. And we educated back to the first component, we educated the employer, in this case, the CFO or the controller, whatever you want to call the person. All right. And we said, hey, there's 3 different types of components that make up the promise that you're making your employees. The insurance component for the catastrophic insurance, which is the life, the AD&D, the critical illness, the long-term disability, etc. The second component is the reimbursement of those routine expenses, the health and the dental and so on. The third component is one of administration. And we outlined what our administration fees were in this particular 22 life case with the 3 different classes. And we said, that's great. So what do you want to change? What is it, Mr. Employer, Mr. Controller, that you want to change? What insurance do you want to change? What reimbursement levels do you want to change? And what on the full service administration do you want to change? And the answer was nothing. Oh, I don't want to change anything. I've just got my guy and he's going to do the same but he's going to do it cheaper. So he's going to do it cheaper. And we go, okay, well, that's great. But how exactly are you going to do it cheaper? Because in a benefit plan, and again, we're looking at a long-term strategy here, a benefit plan, whether it's a traditional benefit plan or an ASO-funded benefit plan, they both have those risk charges, the cost of the life insurance, the cost of the AD&D, the cost of the critical illness, and so on. Those risk charges exist. Okay, and then it's the anticipated claims for those transactional-based items or the actual claims. So in an ASO solution, it's the actual claims, and you're paying for whatever you eat right now. And with the insurance company, it's the anticipated claims. So they anticipate what the claims are going to be, and then they set a premium associated with those particular claims. And then if the claims are higher or lower than what they anticipated, they adjust it accordingly. Then there's the plan operation expenses, and we were operating this plan, I can't remember, but probably around 15%, including commissions. And what plan operation expenses are the traditional benefit or the traditional solutions offering? And the chances are it's going to be greater than that 15% or greater than that 85% target loss ratio. The client's going, yeah, I get this, but you know what? It's going to be the same, but it's going to be cheaper. And we're going, yeah, really, how is it going to be cheaper? So when we explained this to them and discussed this with them and educated this particular person, we got the person to agree that the only difference between a TPA type of an arrangement, one of the only differences and how you can buy it cheaper or not, is the only difference between an ASO arrangement and a traditional funded arrangement is the timing of the payments. You're either going to pay now or you're going to pay later. And in this particular case, he came to the realization that, yeah, if he implements savings, it's really going to be short term. It's not going to be sustainable in the long term. And he's going to get back on that treadmill where he's got to change his benefit plan supplier every year or 2 or 3. Then all of a sudden we brought to the attention, oh, by the way, you're going to have to tell your boss, or in this case, your new boss, that you're changing his benefit plan. And you're changing his benefit plan from 100% reimbursement executive benefit plan to one that's a little bit more cumbersome for them, that is going to be taking care of everybody having the same benefit plan design, and then anything over and above that's not covered under the routine plan has to be covered through cost plus. So by the way, you're going to have to tell them that you're going to be changing this as well. So it's really a short-term decision that you're implementing in a long-term game plan, and that doesn't make any sense. And you're going to have to tell your boss that you're going to have to change the benefit plan. Well, it was kind of interesting. After that 1-hour meeting, he took that under advisement, and the result of that 1-hour meeting was there was no shopping required. The broker kept the client, and the guy went away. So the reasons to shop the provider are for service, or the client has a short-term outlook. If you're going to change insurance companies, really it's either a service issue or they have a short-term outlook. Simple as that. So what are you shopping for? Are you shopping for a new level of service? Great. Are you shopping because they got a short-term outlook? That's fine too. Find a cheaper price. Great. But if you're sure, there's no reason to shop if the client has a long-term outlook and they're fine with the service. It's about education, and it's about asking future-based questions. It's not about saving money. Reason for a client to shop brokers? Well, there's simply no added value. When you walk into a client's office or a prospect's office, and and they say, "Hey, great, we want you to shop the market for us because we do this once every 3 years as a course of record." Terrific. You've got an opportunity to add a great deal of value in education and ask super future-based questions, and no longer will need to do that. Trust me, guys that are just saying, "Trust me, trust me, trust me," guys, as I like to say. These trust me guys are they're just saving money. They're not offering any value. I think there's an incredible opportunity in this marketplace that we're talking about, in this space, the 3 to 103 employees. You're getting a lot of very successful businesses that are doing extraordinary things, and they want to buy value. And there's a lot of people, because it's the only thing they know how to do is to shop the market. So I think with the proper education and so on, you can get out of this or off this treadmill and add value to your clients. As I like to say, it's about making the difference with your clients. It's making the difference, and it's about a very small amount of education where the client can understand exactly what's going on in simple terms, so you can make the difference and add extraordinary value. And you do that by asking great future-based questions, help the client create a sticky benefit plan, and continue to educate, continue to educate, continue to educate. So moving on to the next subject, and the final subject of today's webinar, the roles and responsibilities of brokers, insurers, TPAs, and clients. And it was interesting. When this feedback came back from the various all the brokers that we asked questions of, and they responded. I was a little surprised at this, but it was interesting. People were concerned about the roles and responsibilities of brokers, insurers, TPAs, and clients. And I was thinking about it, and I'm going, think about how the roles of banks have changed in our everyday lives. I remember when I first started, first started having a job when I was, 14 or 15 years old, and got a paycheck and would have to go into the bank and deposit it into my bank account. Now you take a picture of it and send it over your phone, and you never visit a bank.
Right? The people you're selling benefits to have literally never been given a check from their employer.
Yeah. Exactly. They've never been given a check from their employer because it's just all done through automatic payroll. Some people don't even know what to do with the check, and I don't want a check because I don't even have a checking account. I just want the money deposited into my account. So the roles and responsibilities of brokers, insurers, TPAs, and clients have really changed. So how is this, how has this changed in the last 28 years? And I can only speak from 28 years, and I'm sort of a little tongue-in-cheek here, but this is what it looked like 28 years ago, right? And I'm joking, but you were always dealing with the boss. The boss always had a secretary. The boss always wore a suit, and it was it's the way it was. And you had to get through the gatekeeper, the secretary, to get a meeting with the boss. And everything was done. Everything was done, with a pen and paper, and it's amazing. Today you've got these great employers, and here's a guy that's probably about the same age as the guy was in the other picture, but he's wearing cool clothes or more fashion forward clothes. He's got this young dynamic team in front of him and they're offering great benefits. So yeah, the world has changed significantly, and the roles have changed somewhat. But it's how we interact and how we deal with these people being these great clients that we have and want to have. The key thing about an employee benefit program, in my opinion, there are a lot of moving parts to keep this client happy. You got to keep that client happy. He's the one that pays the bills, and he listens to his staff. he listens to his team because his team is very important to him. So when they get a negative result, when something goes wrong, the client knows about it right away. So it's important to manage as a broker all of these moving parts to keep this client happy. And I was trying to come up with some analogies, and this is the one that I came up with. You as a broker are managing a lot of moving parts. And here's an orchestra. Here's this fabulous orchestra that is playing terrific music. And you as the broker are leading this particular orchestra. And you've got an opportunity to play, or the orchestra has an opportunity to play at this beautiful concert hall in Sydney, Australia. And so you got to take the orchestra and you got to fly all the way to Sydney, which is a great deal of coordination, requires a great deal of effort and a great deal of coordination. And you got to stay in a hotel for a series of days so the orchestra can get rested and so on. You got to come up with the appropriate playlist to keep that particular client happy and make sure that it's valued, that they have value for the dollars that they're spending to make that client happy. Simple as that. There's a lot of moving parts in that orchestra to get this person that's got tickets in Sydney to keep them happy. But they just want to show up and they just want to be happy. So what are the roles and responsibilities? What are the broker's roles and responsibilities in this case? So I like to say the broker is like the conductor of the orchestra. The broker is like the conductor of the orchestra. Your role in this relationship to get that client happy with respect to benefits is about leading the way. You've got to lead the way. You've got to lead the client in a direction that makes sense for them. You are the benefit expert. You've got to lead the way, right? You've got to be that trusted advisor as opposed to that guy. Trust me. The trust me guy? No. You've got to be the trusted advisor. You be the trusted advisor. And I think it's important that understanding that selling is engaging someone in a future result that's good for them. Selling is engaging someone in that future result that's good for them. And you've got to lead them to that future result that is good for them. And you do that by asking great questions, asking great future-based questions. And the best question that I've ever heard comes from Dan Sullivan from The Strategic Coach. And it's, hey, if we were meeting here 3 years from today, what has to have happened for you to say that this has been the most successful 3 years of my life? Simple as that. Where do you want to be in 3 years? I ask that question to just about everybody. And it's amazing the results that you get back. And it's amazing the people that are interested in answering the question. People that are interested in answering the question have a future that's going to be bigger than their past. The people that aren't interested in answering the question are barely even showing up for life. Right? They're just, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just trying to get through this week. I'm just trying to get through today. I'm just trying to get through this month. So when you ask these future-based questions, you can actually be of value to the client and lead them into a direction where they want to go. So as I like to say, when we're talking about what's the broker's responsibility, the broker's responsibility is to communicate, educate, and lead. It's to communicate, educate, and lead. It's not about finding the cheapest price. Some people think that their role is to find the client the cheapest price. No, I think your role as a broker is to communicate, educate, and lead. You are just an employee of the organization. You get paid through commissions, which is revenue to your business, but you're just an employee of the organization, right? And your job is to communicate, educate, and lead. And as I like to say, your job is to also translate between insurance company jargon and English. So it's to communicate, educate, and lead and translate that jargon from insurance company jargon into English. What is the insurance company's responsibility? What does the insurance company do? Well, the insurance company's responsibility is to manufacture protection. They're the manufacturing facility. Their job is to protect the benefit plan promise against catastrophic, sudden, unexpected events. Simple as that. Their job is to manufacture the promise. And it's there to protect the integrity of the promise so it can continue into perpetuity. What did I just say? What? It's there to protect the integrity of the promise so the promise can continue into perpetuity. Back to my studies in university years, like 10,000 years ago or whenever I was in university, the purpose of a business is to maximize the value of its shareholders into perpetuity. The business is going to continue into perpetuity. It's going to continue tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. It's going to continue forever by definition. So as a result of that, and if I'm making an employee a promise that says, hey, if they should die or they can't come to work because they're injured or ill, I'm going to continue their paycheck till they're 65, that could be a couple of $1 million. If I have to keep on that promise, I got to pay an employee that's not here. Wow, that's crazy. So I want to buy insurance to protect against that. But it's really to protect the integrity of the promise so the promise can continue into perpetuity. So insurance companies' responsibilities are really to manufacture the insurance based on the risk that the promise has established, if you would. The promise that the employer makes to the group of employees, there's an element of risk, there's an element of reimbursement, and there's an element of administration. So the insurance company's responsibility is to manufacture that risk for a fair price. And it's important to note that it's for a fair price. So that's really what the insurance company's responsibility. What's our responsibility as a third-party benefit administration company? And I think this question was asked because a lot of brokers weren't sure what a TPA does or did or does, I guess, future tense, right? Well, what do? It's as simple as that. What's our roles and responsibility? Our role and responsibility, as I see it, is we've got, hold on a second, the broker's role is to lead, educate, etc. The insurance company's responsibility is to manufacture the risk protection at a fair price. Our responsibility is to keep the promise that the employer is making to the group of employees and report back. So it's really about keeping the promise and reporting it back. And we've got to report it back to you, the producer. We've got to report it back to the client in a meaningful, frequent manner. And we've got to report to the insurance company on what the risk is and remit their premiums accordingly. So the TPA's responsibility is really quite simply to keep the promise that the employer is making to the employee and report back to the producer, client, and insurance company. Everybody's benefit plan is different. Everybody's benefit plan is different. So, here's a box, and the box is a certain shape, and it's got brown paper, and it's got string wrapped around it, and that's one company's benefit plan. Another company's benefit plan is going to be completely different than that. It's going to be a different shaped box. It's going to have Christmas wrapping on it, and it's going to have a bow on it. Everybody's benefit plan is different. Our process is quite simple. The client makes a monthly contribution based on a billing statement that we provide them based on the promise that they are making to their group. So that's the amount of money coming in to the benefits trust. Then we take that information and we send it out to the insurance company, or we take some of that money and information and we send it out to the insurance company for insurance premiums, for the life insurance, the long-term disability, the AD&D, the stop-loss, critical illness, out-of-country emergency travel coverages, etc. Second thing we do is we take that money and we use it for claim transactions as they come in both electronically and via paper or over the internet for the health and dental and short-term disability claims. And then we pay the plan operation expenses, which includes your compensation. So money comes in, money goes out, and the key thing is we report back to you, the producer, and report back to the end user client, as well as the insurance company on what the monthly account balance is. We say, hey, great, here's how much came in, here's how much went in, out, here's what your account balance is this particular month and year-to-date cumulative. There are no surprises. Our job is to do exactly what's on this slide. It's to keep the promise that the employer is making to the employee from a risk perspective, from a claim transaction perspective or a reimbursement perspective, and from a plan operation perspective. And then we take that information and we report back to the parties on a routine basis, in this case monthly, so everybody can see exactly where they are at any point in time. What's the client's responsibility? They play a role in this. It's a lot of moving parts. What's the client's responsibility? Well, the client's responsibility is to let us know what's going on at their place of business. It's as simple as that. The client's responsibility is to let us know what's going on, but it's important that they know that. And that's where the communication comes in, the education comes in, and the leading comes in. It's important to understand that there's a lot of moving parts, and the client needs to understand what their roles and responsibilities are, and we've got to manage their expectations. And it's about updating. It's about updating when somebody joins the plan. It's about updating when somebody leaves the plan. It's about updating when somebody changes the status in their plan. It's about updating when their time horizons go from long-term to short-term. It's about updating when their time horizons go from short-term to long-term. It's about letting us know, letting the broker know, updating when they're buying a new division or selling off a division. It's about keeping everybody informed. It's about the future, and it's about making sure that the benefit plan is matching their future successes, whether they be growing or whether they be shrinking or whether they be changing. It's all about the future. Benefit plans are really all about the future, and it's about keeping on track with respect to where the business is going in the future to keep everything in check with their benefit plan. And it's about changing in advance of before it's too late. Simple as that. It's about making sure the benefit plan matches where the company is and where the company is going, as opposed to where the company has been. So it's about managing that change and saying to the particular client that through the education and the leading is saying that this is going to change. We're not done. We're not done. This is going to change from time to time based on what's going on. So it's about setting the appropriate expectations. It's really about setting the appropriate expectations, the expectations that the client has, and setting their expectations and leading them into a direction that they need to be led to. It's about the broker having clear expectations from the client, but also the broker telling the client what it is how they are going to add value and how they're going to add value both today, tomorrow, and the day after that into the future. It's about the insurer having the appropriate expectations as well, making sure that they have the appropriate risk manufacturing in place. And it's about the TPA keeping the promise that the employer makes to the employee and reporting back to the various parties on an ongoing basis so there aren't any surprises. So it's really a benefit plan, and a happy client is about expectations and about managing those expectations. One of the best things that I've seen, and many of you are aware of this, is Dave Patriarch from CGIB. If you're not a member of CGIB, you should join right now. It's as simple as that. Dave puts on great seminars and great education sessions. But one of the things that he has done is built an administrator checklist. And that's something that can be used as a foundation for managing expectations. So check out the administrator's checklist. Check out CGIB. If you're not a member, you should be a member. Simple as that. But really, when you've got clients where you manage their expectations, and you've got brokers, or the broker manages the expectations of the client, manages the expectations of the insurance company and the TPA, you've got this great circle of success. The benefit plan works, and works extraordinarily well. You got this positive mindset, this attitude, this optimism. It's interesting. It's about managing expectations and that mindset. Yet nothing is perfect in this world. Not a thing is perfect in this world. Things require service. Things require communication. Things require ongoing maintenance, for goodness sakes. A benefit plan is no different. A benefit plan is no different at all. I have a car, just a regular car that I drive around in every day, and I dropped it off this morning actually at the dealership to get my snow tires put on, and yesterday I realized that the engine light had just popped on. I got my car serviced religiously, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the engine light popped on. No idea what's going on, but it popped on, and it's got to get fixed because I need reliable responsibility. So it was about not freaking out. Oh my God, my engine light popped on, and this is a crap car, because it's not. But it's about managing that. I know that things are going to pop up from time to time. I know I'm going to have to take care of it. It's about communicating effectively, in this case with the dealership. They go, hey, we'll take care of it right away. We're going to call you on your cell phone, Rob. We're going to get back to you, before noon today with a plan of action that we're going to take to get, your snow tires on, and they will be on, but also we're going to diagnose what's going on with your car, and we're going to come up with a game plan on getting this fixed. So there's this positive attitude. It's this mindset. Everybody's on the same page. We're all good. Simple as that. There's this effect when you've got all these different balls that are moving. When one thing goes out of whack, it creates this chain of events that often by the time it gets to the last ball, and the last ball is flying off the end of the rails, it's, oh my God, it's too late. It's about managing the expectations. It's about making sure everybody's on the same page. So it's important to note, and again, through the education of all parties involved, that a benefit plan is in constant motion. It's always changing. Things are always changing in it. and it's important to manage those expectations. As I like to say, the job is not done when the application is signed. The job is not done when the application is signed. That's when it just starts. That's when it starts. That's when really I think the job starts. And a lot of people go, isn't this great? I just signed up a new case. Now I'm going to sit back and I don't have anything to do for the next 2 years because I've just, got this big case inside. Well, no, this is when the job starts, in my opinion, when the application is signed. It's not when it's over. And it really starts with the advisor leading the orchestra. And I think there's a superb opportunity for many advisors out there because I think there's just a whole bunch of trust me guys out there. I can find you a cheaper price. It starts with the advisor leading the orchestra. Lead the orchestra on that 5 life case. Lead the orchestra on that 25 life case. It starts with the advisor leading the orchestra. Leading is the most important thing. It's all about profit. It's about growth. It's about efficiency. And it's about that equation for all people involved. Growth, profit, efficiency, profit, growth, efficiency, efficiency, growth, and profit for all involved. It's important that everybody has the same mindset for the relationship to work well. It's important to note as well, if part of the circle of success is not profitable, it all breaks down. If you're constantly being that trust me guy and beating up insurance companies and kicking them in the nuts, quite frankly, they don't make any money on it. You know what happens is it breaks down. The relationship breaks down with the insurance company. The relationship breaks down with the client. The relationship just breaks down. It's not good. If you're always fighting for the lowest price, the lowest common denominator, if you're beating up suppliers for the lowest price all the time, they're not going to want to deal with you. As simple as that. And it's going to break down. It's going to break down from the client's perspective. Benefits are not a race to the bottom. Benefit plans are not a race to the bottom. This is an ongoing, moving solution. It requires ongoing service. You need to earn a living, a good living at this to be able to provide your clients advice. The insurance companies need to make money. The TPAs need to make money. And quite frankly, if you've got the right plan in place for the right clients with the right mindsets, it's not about money, it's about value. So benefit plans are not a race to the bottom. If you've got one of these bully clients that says, find me something cheaper, this is great, find me something cheaper, their mindset hasn't changed. They just have that short-term mindset because that's how smart they think they are, and that's terrific. My attitude is next. We can go back to the beginning of this presentation where we saw the picture of downtown Toronto and we saw the picture of the GTA and the Golden Horseshoe, and the marketplace is so big, there's no time for bully clients. There is simply no time for bully clients. There's time for clients that you can educate. There's time for clients that you can lead. There's time for clients that you can work with on an ongoing basis. When you sign the application, that's when the work starts, not when the work ends. Again, how to build a lasting relationship. Take this poster, cut, on the dotted line, rotate 180 degrees. It's about we. It's about all of us. And all of us having a lasting relationship with each other. And that's what makes a great client. We've got a ton of thin files in our offices. I like to say there's 2 types of clients, thin files and thick files. Thick files are clients that cause a lot of problems and you're constantly moving around and you're keeping all of the stuff from years gone by. And we've got thin files where it's just got renewals in there and monthly financial statements. We've got way more thin files than we do thick files. Build a lasting relationship, lead the client. Be that orchestra. Be that orchestra conductor. Be that orchestra conductor. Because when you are a fabulous orchestra conductor, you got the orchestra behind you, in this case being the insurance company, standing up behind you saying, hey, you're fantastic. You got this beautiful venue. And that could be, for example, like the TPA. And you got your client standing up and giving you a standing ovation. And they're giving you and they're giving everybody behind you a standing ovation. And really, who are they looking at? If you look at this picture closely, a lot of the orchestra people are looking at this producer. That's you. A lot of the members of the audience are looking at that particular individual. They're not looking at the venue. They're not looking at the people playing the third violin. They're looking at you, the broker. Be that broker as opposed to, the guy that nobody wants to see and not participate in the great concert halls.
I'll tell you what, this broker isn't going Baroque.
Oh, Mike,
classic music.
That's as bad as your mustache, buddy. We're running out of time. 3 ideas. Education never ends. Know why you need to shop. be an active participant and know the roles and responsibilities of the relationships you have. Thank you for your time. Join the CGIB, Canadian Group Insurance Benefits Brokers, or whatever it's called, CGIB. Search that on your website. Join that. Thank you for your time. It's been an hour. It's been an hour well spent. Reach out to Mike Ignatz or myself. We're going to send you a very short survey. We're going to send you a CE certificate. We're going to send you a copy of our Trusted Advisor newsletters. If you got more than 10 people in your office, or 8 or 10 people in your office, we're happy to come out to your office and do education seminars direct in your office. We'll throw a couple pizzas on the table for lunch, and we'll have some fun at it as well. Thanks for your time. We look forward to selling with you in the future, and it's all about future-based selling. Bye for now.